Hey guys, this is Vic from Grasping the Market and welcome to our market briefing. Today we had no change on the monthly, weekly or daily timeframes because we had an inside day, and as we've mentioned before, an inside day is a form of balance. So the market is basically accepting these levels and waiting for new information. So no major change there. But if you look closely, and we will do that in a second on the market profile, there's some pretty interesting information that we can extract from that. Uh, the morning, although we open inside, we immediately, leaving just one tick above the open, started pushing lower. I remind you that the level denoting change, well, we were focusing on the upper distribution and we were paying attention to this a few ticks single column separation that we had there. The market immediately went there, took it through, and started going towards the POC. Number one data point that I took this morning, there was a lot of give back on the A period. The A period tried, and kept going back to the 80, 81 area. Then on the second period, B opened and immediately pushed back up towards the halfback at the time. And then towards the end, you got the extension. Then C left the week low, immediately pushed up. So there was a lot of buying going on here. So at that point, yes, we closed the double distribution, but my reading was that this cluster over here, which is the main, I like to call it the core value from the previous session, was holding the increased pressure. And what I was discussing with a colleague is that if you have a strong momentum and you had a healthy excess at the top, but you keep going back and forth, and you cannot go through, there's a risk that you create an inventory imbalance. The other thing I discussed with him was that on Tuesday, we had a strong move to the downside, leaving multiple distributions. Then on the next day, you probe lower, leave a very healthy and strong excess, and you almost trend for the rest of the session in a straight line. And my question, my open question, I didn't have the answer, but I was thinking, what are the odds that on the next session, you leave excess at the bottom, you rally for the whole session in a strong manner, only to reverse it back on the next session in a straight line. So I thought there was a little bit of a low probability of that happening. And that together with the amount of backing and filling, like back and forth, give back, and the buying that I was seeing, I thought probably somewhere around here, it happened to be lower, but somewhere here, the market may turn. So on the after that, a lot of back and forth on that core value area, you had a strong push on D. And this is when it gets really interesting, because after this strong D push, you can see that the D push stopped exactly at the C low from yesterday, from the previous session, not even approaching the singles. So at this point, I started putting the pieces together. I said, okay, you close the distribution, but you have a huge amount of buying up here. Then you flush lower, but you cannot go and tackle and bother or challenge the excess. So at this point, value was overlapping, I think fully overlapping or overlapping to higher with yesterday. I think it was overlapping. So if you are in an inside session, you know as well that the odds are for a rotational day. If you cannot challenge the singles, because the D flush was really high, like really strong, but E, although it tried, it couldn't reach the D low. So at that point, I thought, okay, there's a lot of give back. You have a rotational day odds. Value is not lower or is not moving down further. So this could be it. And probably that was it. Then you have a return and you have that a little bit of short covering on F. And then the POC starts getting wider and wider around the halfback. That's not the way a trend day looks like. So then you need to keep in mind all that buying that you saw earlier, all that lack of follow through here. So this was, at least for me, it was kind of expected to revisit the high. But at the end of the day, it is an inside day, and an inside day, it tends to be rotational, and that's what you got. The thing is that the swing was only one swing. It went down and then went up, and then obviously towards the close, sometimes you have a little bit of liquidation, people adjusting positions for the next day. An important clue is most of the, like for half a day you had overlapping value, but then at the end of the day you spend a bunch of periods up here and value moved higher, so you had higher value, you couldn't touch the excess low. Obviously you didn't take the high either, but I think that the close is a little bit strong, and you had a strong close the previous day. Today we are a little bit lower, but I think that this upper area is holding well. Now the focus, as I mentioned as well, an inside day is a form of balance. So now the focus becomes this 2-day balancing range. I would say that if you get acceptance above today's high, you start increasing the odds of going towards the 3000 area. Let me take this level out. On to the downside, I think if you start getting acceptance below halfback, which coincides with the afternoon low, the chances are that we are going and challenge the low. But I would say it is very difficult. I mean, trading, even within like the extremes from today, you can still reverse up down here, and you can still reverse down here. The main barriers are the Tuesday extremes, and you have excess there respected and excess down here respected. So the focus is on this balancing range. I would say that the best bet you can make is to wait for a break or an attempt break from this 2-day balance range, and then you monitor for continuation if the break is a legit one, or if it fails. Remember, tomorrow's Friday. We have some important data, economic data coming out, but you also have the weekend, and many participants decide to be flat for the weekend because a lot of geopolitical stuff and economic stuff and news can come out of the weekend. So you may wait till next week or not to break out of this range, but keep your expectations under check and manage your risk wisely.